Hello everybody and welcome back. This is Swati Gupta, Chartered Accountant. Today we are going to study International Financial Reporting Standard 3, or you can say Indian Accounting Standard 3. The name of the standard is Business Combination. These both standards can be studied together because there is no sort of differences and gaps between them. Let's begin. First, what does business combination means? Firstly, business means any integrated set of assets or activities. It means both are important. Activities means set of processes, rules, protocols, etc. Okay, there should be assets as well as activities. A combination of these is known as business. Now, it can be controlled and conducted and managed. It should be capable of being conducted and managed. Next, the purpose and the intention should be to benefit the investors, owners and participants. It should be conducted and managed in a way that its motive is to provide benefits to its investors, owners or participants. Okay, so overall business is a set of activities and assets. It can be conducted and managed, and its motive is to provide benefits to investors, owners and participants. Next comes as elements of business. Inputs, okay, the resources and all. Processes, that means set of activities, rules, standards, protocols, conventions, etc. A system that allows inputs to get converted into outputs. Okay, and what is output? The result of inputs is known as output. Now, in case of a business project that is in development stage, okay, if a business is in development stage, then it is not necessary that all the three elements are there. The important is that there should be input as well as process and potential of output. Okay, input, process and potential of output. Okay, then also it will be considered as business. Next comes is important basics. Always and always business must have asset. Okay, it may or may not have liability. It depends on their own strategies and own funding capacity that they need to have liability, they need to take loan or not. There is no compulsion to take any sort of loans or debentures, but it is very, very, very important and crucial to have assets. It may be office facility, it may be equipments, etc. Okay, business must have assets. It may or may not have liability. Next comes is it always have goodwill, and at times it has bargain. Next, let's see the differences between business combination and asset combination. The standard specifically prescribes different treatments for both of them. Let's see what is the difference basically. First, in case of business combination, that is when assets are acquired, as a whole business, then what happens is there is always bargain and gain. Okay, whereas in asset acquisition case, there is no sort of bargain or gain or goodwill. Okay. Other than this, assets and liabilities are valued at fair value, okay, are always recorded at fair value, whereas here it is valued at allocated value. We'll consider this and learn this with an example right next, okay. What happens in business combination? There always arises DTA or DTL, that is deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability, whereas in case of asset acquisition, no DTA and DTL arises. Next, what happens is initial direct acquisition cost transferred to PL. Here all the cost is transferred to PL, whereas in case of asset acquisition, the initial cost, installation cost, any cost of trial and error runs, okay, what happens is this all cost is capitalized into the cost of acquisition of the asset, okay, into the cost. Here it is capitalized, here it is transferred to P&L directly. Okay, these are the specific differences and gives you a clue out of what is business combination and how it is different from asset acquisition. Okay, let's study this with an example. A Limited acquire B Limited for rupees 20 lakh. Details of assets and liabilities of B Limited are book value is given and fair value is given. Okay, A Limited acquired B Limited. What happens if B Limited is a business? That is business combination. In this case, always goodwill or bargain occurs. That is, they will be recorded at fair value. So what happened? PP account debit 5 lakh. Inventory account debit 2.5 lakh, your debtors 4.5 lakh, others 2 lakh. Okay, what happened here? Fair value is taken and then purchase consideration 20 lakh. And what is the difference? The difference is considered as goodwill over here. Okay, since it is a business combination. Whereas asset acquisition, what happens is they are treated in a allocated manner. Okay, allocated value, what is it? If it is total 5 lakh plus 2 lakh 50,000 plus 4 lakh 50,000 plus 2 lakh, if we total this, it amounts to 14 lakh in total. Okay, now what happens is this 20 lakh is distributed, allocated in this 14 lakh in ratio 5, 2.5, 4.5 and 2. Okay, what happens is if you multiply 20 lakhs into 5 by 14, why 5? Because the fair value of PP is 5 lakh. Okay, 5 by 14, the value is 7 lakh 14,285. Therefore, here it is recorded as 7 lakh 14,285, that is allocated value over here. Similarly, here it will be 2.5 upon 14. Okay, here it will be 4.5 upon 14, and lastly it will be 2 by 14. Okay, this is how the values are calculated. There is no differences since it is completely allocated, therefore no bargain or goodwill. Here, for reference, see, there is always bargain and goodwill, whereas in asset acquisition, no bargain and goodwill. Okay, this is clear from this. Next, what happens is identification of acquirer. At times, it is not clear that who is the acquirer. So, there are some cases given. In every case, we will decide who is the acquirer. In case if acquisition is done through cash and bank, like when acquisition is done, the payment and the settlement is done via cash or bank, then the entity paying cash is the acquirer. Simple. Acquisition is through liability like debt or loan. Entity incurring liability is the acquirer. Okay, anybody who does not have enough money but they have raised money, they have raised funds, liability, debentures, etc. to get a company acquired. Okay, for acquisition, then the company who is incurring the liability is considered as acquirer over here. Okay, good enough. Next, what happens is if issue of equity shares is done for acquisition, now here it is not as simple and straight. We have to see who has control on post combination, on post business combination. What happens is after business is combined, okay, after business combination, after the group entity as a whole, we have to see who has power, who has control. The entity who has control, or what say, shareholders controlling post combined entity is treated as acquirer. Okay, whoever is holding control is known as acquirer. Entity, which entity holds more control is known as acquirer in case of equity share payment. Next, what happens is existence of large minority voting shares. In simple words, minority shares means non-controlling interest. A Limited acquires 40% equity shares in B Limited, and remaining 60% of equity shares is with 6,000 individuals. That is, A Limited has 40% shares. Any decision that it makes, okay, will be very influencing because the rest of the 60% shares are with 6,000 individuals. These are so scattered and minor that every individual cannot make any influencing part. Okay, see, if A Limited acquires 40% equity shares in B Limited and remaining 60% of equity shares is with 6,000 individuals. See, what happens is if A Limited has 40% shares, this means it has influencing decision making power because the rest of the 60% is quite major portion, but it is being scattered among individuals, lot many individuals. Each individual cannot make any influencing effect, okay, impact on the entity. Therefore, somehow, even though a lesser share is there, but since it is concentrated in one hand, that is A Limited, it can make an impactful decision making. Therefore, here A Limited is acquirer. Why? Because other 60% is with minority voting interest, that is non-controlling interest holders. Next, what happens is if composition of governing body like board of directors. See, for example, the combined body has 5 directors. Okay. Now, if A Limited has appointed 3 out of 5, then the majority is with A. Any decision that A makes can be influenced easily. Okay. Here, therefore, A Limited is the acquirer. Next, senior top management, the entity which has which has a position to appoint top managers is the acquirer in this condition. Okay. Next, determination of acquisition date, very important. The date on which acquirer obtains control is the date of acquisition, whereas if acquisition is subject to shareholders the approval, then approval date is acquisition. Generally, whenever the control is exercised at that date, it is known as acquisition date. But in case if shareholders approval is required, then the date when shareholders give their approval is the acquisition date. Okay. Next, take an example. For example, if A Limited acquired B Limited on exchange offer, okay, share exchange offer. Number of shares, equity shares of A Limited are 10,000 shares. Identify acquirer in the following case. In case A Limited issues 6,000 more shares, okay, in settlement, for purchase consideration settlement, they issue 6,000 more shares. Now the total number of shares become 16,000 because existing were 10,000. Now B Limited has 6 upon 16, whereas A Limited has 10 upon 16 share of total shares. Here A is the acquirer, no doubt. Whereas in case if the purchase consideration is settled and issue of share is done, the issue of share is 15,000 equity shares. Here A Limited has 15 by 25, whereas A Limited has 10 by 25, whereas B Limited has 15 by 25. Here B Limited is the acquirer. Okay, got it? After combination, after post combination, we have to see who has more control, who has more shares. The entity with larger number of shares become the acquirer, is considered as acquirer. Next, in case after you identify the acquirer, what happens is you have to see if the acquiry is dissolved or not. In case if acquiry is dissolved, then what the entry will be? Firstly, if acquisition, entry will be asset, debit, at fair value, any goodwill, purchase, bargain, purchase consideration to liability. Okay, these all are at fair value, no doubt. Settlement will be purchase consideration to equity share, preference shares, debentures, loans, bargain gain, no doubt. Okay, acquiry here according to standard, it is an entity that is being under this corporate acquisition or merger. Okay, the company which is being sold out is known as corporate acquisition. Any company which is being sold out is known as acquiry. Next, if acquiry is not dissolved, okay, it continues as a subsidiary and is not dissolved, what happens is in individual books it will be considered as investment because only a part is there and the whole is still running, existing. Equity share, preference shares, debentures, cash in bank asset, okay, any sort of. And in case of consolidated financial statement, please look carefully. What happens is asset account debit, fair value, no issue. Goodwill, no issue. Purchase consideration, nothing new. Liability, okay. Here it comes a new topic that is if it is not dissolved, then there arises non-controlling interest, that is minority interest. We have to calculate this value. Next, bargain gain, if any. Purchase consideration, then settlement is done. Equity share, preference shares, debentures, loans, any. Here, example, if A Limited is acquires 70% shares and of equity shares of B Limited and 30% belongs to other vote holders. So this 30% is non-controlling interest, or you can say minority interest. Now this calculation can be done in two ways. First is fair value method, that is take number of shares held by others like 30%, okay, 30% or 3,000 shares out of 10,000, okay, any, if there is figure 30% shares into market price of each share of the acquiry. We will multiply with that and then we will get the fair value of this. Other is proportionate net asset method. Calculate the asset value, deduct all the liabilities, and then what the value comes into 30%. Into the share held by other vote holders, non-controlling interest. Now there is an option that company can opt either of the method, no issue. But in case when subsidiary is not dissolved, then you have to consider not controlling interest, non-controlling interest, or you can say minority interest. There are two methods, either of them can be opted. Next, for example, to be very clear, take an example. This is a very important question that can come into your exam, okay. If you are conceptually clear, it will help you a lot. A Limited acquires 70% shares and pays 70% shares 40 lakh rupees, okay. your book value and fair value both are given of B Limited. It acquires only 70% and the business is being continued. Okay, it is not wholly acquired. Now we have to calculate non-controlling interest. How to calculate? First, by fair value method means 30% shares for 40 lakh into 30 upon 70. Okay, we have to multiply with the share and the market price. Market price now it is 40 lakh for 70%. Okay, so for 30% it will be 70 lakh 14,000. This is the non-controlling interest value. Whereas by proportionate asset method, calculate this 30 lakh plus 3 plus 7 plus 2 lakh 50,000 plus 1 lakh minus this 7 lakh, because this is liability, we get 36 lakh 50,000. Okay, into 30%, the non-controlling interest share, it becomes 10 lakh 95,000. So if you are opting for net asset method, the value of non-controlling interest while recording the value in the books of acquirer, it will be 10 lakh 95,000 and else it will be 17 lakh 14,000. I hope this is very clear. Okay, we have taken this as market price because this is being paid for 70% of shares. Next, some important little points that are need to be considered while calculating PC, that is purchase consideration. The fair value, whenever we take fair value, should be of acquisition date. There are two acquisition dates, either the day when the control was given, otherwise the day if shareholders approval was given. Okay, the standard does not restrict any form of consideration. It can be settled either in preference shares, equity, debentures, loan, cash, bank, etc. any form. Okay, it does not restrict any form of consideration. The standard overall nowhere restricts. Whereas next comes is deferred consideration. If any consideration will be paid after 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 2 years, okay, then PV of it should be taken, present value of it should be taken, discounted basis. Contingent consideration, if it is dependent on happening or non-happening of some any event, any condition, then what? It should be taken at fair value, and fair value of acquisition date. Acquisition date will be the date when control was exercised or the date when shareholders approval was given if needed. Next, consideration in form of assets, then take fair value of it. If consideration is form of equity shares, then calculate number of shares and fair value of it. Okay. Next, and the last thing comes is ESOP, that is employee stock option plan. In case if A Limited acquires B Limited, for example, and the acquiring company has an existing contract with employees of ESOP. Okay, you know generally ESOPs are of 3 years, 5 years, a long period. Okay, now there comes two, replacement and non-replacement. First we'll see replacement. Okay, replacement here, if A Limited acquired B Limited and the acquiree transferred to the acquirer, that this ESOP plan is being transferred to A Limited. ESOP if transferred, then comes replacement award. Now what happens is, for example, the ESOP was of 3 years. Okay, now from grant date to acquisition date, for example, it is 1 year and then 2 years. Okay, that means B Limited had a contract 1 year before the acquisition date, okay, for 3 years of ESOP. Now from grant date to acquisition date, it has been 1 year. The amount pertaining to 1 year will be considered under PC under this IFRS 3 itself, whereas the amount that will be pertaining to 2 years, okay, next after acquisition date, this will be considered in service cost. Okay, that is IFRS 2. Okay, why? Because this is being consumed by the acquiree, and whereas here after acquisition the 2-year expenses will be covered and consumed by acquirer. Therefore, if acquirer consumes the facilities and the services of the employees, then it will be considered as service cost, whereas if it purchases it, then it will be considered in PC. If purchase consideration will be according to the standard IFRS 3, whereas service cost will be calculated according to IFRS 2. Next, if it is non-replacement award, that is if the B Limited that already has an ESOP contract with employees does not transfer to A Limited, then what happens is the grant date to acquisition date, this is transferred to non-controlling interest, whereas after acquisition date it is same, the service cost under service cost, and it is since it is consumed by the acquirer. Okay, that your difference was, if reward replacement plan is there, then it will consider it as PC, otherwise it will be considered separately as non-controlling interest. That's all for this video. I have covered all the important points of this IFRS 3. I hope you like it and you find it helpful and worth your time. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Also, this same standard is available in language Hindi on this channel itself. There is a separate playlist. If you want to know and if you find Hindi easier, then you can definitely check them out. All other standards are also available in Hindi and English. Please go and check them out. See you in the next lecture. Till then, take care, be safe, stay tuned.